People blast our life to the grace. Well, folks, this is Love the Afrobeat Music Talk Radio, your number one African Caribbean online radio. We are back at it again. Today being a very beautiful day in Toronto. It's minus 3 degrees Celsius from, that cold days to some beautiful day yesterday. And all of a sudden, it became cold again as it is today. Don't be fooled out there. This beautiful sunshine that we see out there, well, we're experiencing it. A lot of people are, you could have said that because of the sunshine, you see a lot of people outside playing or biking, but it's not like that. Don't be fooled by that. Nevertheless, we are here back at it again with myself, TYB, and Mollinga. We are here today. PETRAA is nursing an injury, but she'll be back with us at some point in time. But nevertheless, we are going to have a very great conversation with you as we do every Saturday on Love the Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. If you are watching us live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and StreamYard, well, you are welcome. And if you are listening to us live on Love the Afrobeat Music Talk Radio, hey, folks, you are welcome. And if you're watching us on these social media platforms, you see that subscription button there. Just click it and share it with your friends and your friends' friends and your friends and your friends' friends. We are here again. Hi, Ron. How are you doing?
Hey, TYB. I'm doing great. Hope all your listeners are doing, or the listeners are doing well today. Here in British Columbia, where I live, with Canucks. You Maple Leafs fans. It's been wet today. Usually I go out for a ride in the morning, but I'll tell you, this morning it is pouring. So hey, I just been taking it easy and talking to numerous musicians and joining you on the show today. So hey, hope everybody's doing well. And hey, I know we are going to, as you said earlier, off screen, we are going to rock and roll.
We are rocking and rolling as we do every Saturday here on Love the Afrobeat Talk Radio. You know what? How was your week, by the way?
Oh, my week was interesting. It's interesting you should ask. I went to a Madonna concert on Wednesday, and wow. We were in Vancouver, yeah. And
did you see Madonna?
Of course, yes. That's why we went to the concert.
The one who fell down on stage?
No, that one. But I had when she was on stage, you could see that her leg was wrapped.
Yes.
So I think about 3 days prior to Vancouver's concert, she had fallen down. You're right. I think she was sitting on a chair or something and fell down. And you could see it in this concert that she was just not moving to I would say, the degree that one would think. But, she's 65 years old.
Already?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's not not a spring chicken, so to speak. So, I don't think that bothered the people at all. It's just the fact that you knew by looking at her leg, you could see that not only was it taped up, but it was also had a black wrap around her leg too. So, I could tell that she had been in something serious. My wife looked it up and said, yeah, she had fallen off a chair.
It was a bad fall. It was a bad fall.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was surprised. I'm glad she got on stage, but you could tell that she wasn't just her peak. However, all the choreographers she has on stage, all the dancers, they were just, I bet you there were dozens of them, and they were certainly making up for what she couldn't really pull off the whole time. So, but her singing didn't make a difference. That would make a difference on her singing. She played guitar for a bit. It was her show. Yeah, it was interesting.
I never knew she played an instrument, though, honestly.
Yeah, well, I watched her play guitar. I mean, I could see her guitar. I play guitar, and I could tell that she was, she doesn't play a lot of it. But then she had a person accompanying her who I could see way over to the right, and he wasn't to be hidden or anything. It's just that he was making up for all the mistakes, but just the extra stuff that made the song work. that she probably was not going to have to bother with, especially since she was singing the song as well. So
how was the show overall?
I I tell you, I guess if you've seen Madonna, you would have loved the show. I guess I came with expectations, and you and I have chatted about this many times. I came with, and this is the bad part of me being a musician, is that I come with expectations of certain things. And like, for instance, her coming on, I thought for sure there would be a live band with her, you know, like she would have this live band. And I was just waiting almost after each song for this band to show up that never did. So it was all, so to speak, canned music that she sang over. And you know, I always like to hear the singers who were doing the harmonies, and I always like to know who's doing that. And that wasn't there, and that wasn't part of the show. I guess the people, anybody who I've talked to who's a Madonna fan who's seen her, just thought it was excellent. I came out going, yeah, it was a concert. You know, she did well.
Yeah, you and I have. Yeah, you and I have. Sorry about that. You and I have spoken about artists going on stage and without a band at the back. And I personally would see a band. I quite remember I went to see Luther Vandross, God bless his soul, at the Toronto Maple Leaf Gardens when it was there. And it was, I loved it. The band was right there. Tight. Every move was so great. That's what I want to see. As an artist, I would like to go and see what each one of them brings to the table, but not the music. If I wanted to listen to the music, I would have stayed home.
Exactly. My thoughts.
The video.
Yeah, exactly. My thoughts exactly. Yeah, I mean, I heard all these harmonies happening in the background. I'm looking around going, where are they coming? Where are these coming from? So I always like to see that live. And that's just me, just, I guess, having some preconceived ideas ahead of the show. And I guess, I don't know, I've seen so many groups where it's a live group. I mean, you just, you know, but canned music to me, you're right. I could have sat home and listened to it.
Yeah. Because sometimes, you know, you pay that big chunks of. Actually, I saw Luther, Aretha Franklin. I saw so many artists that I've seen. I mean, Aretha Franklin, no, Diana Ross, you know, a lot of other stars. But there's one thing that I like about Burna Boy. Upon everything, he goes on stage with a band.
Good. He did that.
Yes, that's what I want to see musicians do. Not, you know what, you go there and it's a playback. If I wanted a playback, I've stayed home and watched the video.
Yeah, you know, and I saw that with, I don't know if it's because the Grammys set it up this way, but when he was on the Grammys, Burna Boy, there was a live band that was playing his song. I couldn't hear anything of it that looked like it was, I call it canned music because it just, you know, it's a DJ in the background. It was him live. Everything was live. And to me, that's just, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe as a musician, that's me, but I don't know. To me, choreographies were great, but I could probably watch videos of that at home.
Yeah, true. It's true.
Know?
Yeah, Ron, now let's talk about what you've been doing. And I really, I'm proud of you. Because sometimes I sit back and I listen to your songwriting abilities. And early this morning, I was just lying down and I was saying, this man is full of surprises. Because in the first place, you write all sorts of music. Afrobeats, country music, what have you, pop, what have you. How are you able to do that? Because for songwriters, I know some songwriters, they are focused on, if it's country music, it's country music. If it's Afrobeat, it's Afrobeat. Nothing is going to move them. How are you able to do this? I know your background as a musician, as a teacher, as everything, but you surprised me.
Oh, you know, I think for anybody to do this, I think what you have to do is you have to listen to lots of music, lots. I can't say there's one style of music I listen to more than the others. There's some that I don't listen to as much. I wouldn't say I'm not as big of a. I'm not saying I don't like classical, but it's not the first thing I would put on if I came home after a long day of work or something. However, I think the biggest thing is listening to so many different artists. That to me in itself has helped a lot, because I love R&B, I love pop, I love rock, I love jazz, I love funk. There's so much stuff that I like, where mostly it's the ones that I'll get back to again, where it's real musicians who are playing the genre. That's where I love it the most, when I know that, hey, this feels like a real person. And it's listening to so much different stuff. I was listening to the JUNO stuff this morning and listening some country stuff. And my wife and I were talking about it, going, man, that guy, he just sounds so good. So I would say it's the background. It's my age too. It's how much music I've had to have been listening to. I'm not a young kid, so I'm not some 20-year-old kid that's listened to music since I was 20 or till say 5 years old. I've been listening probably for 55 years. So I've had the opportunity, and I'll tell you what, going to university for music has helped an immense amount. I mean, I can read, I know what chords, if you said a C minor 7, I can just go, yeah, okay, it's C, E flat, G, and B flat, simple stuff. That's all easy. That helps to writing better music. The more you know about music and the theory behind it, and I don't want to get too much into it, but it's just, that helps too. I heard somebody trying to write an Afrobeat song the other day, and they said they were going to do it in F sharp. The key of F sharp is not an easy key to write in. And for the reason of, I also think of it as the people that are going to be on stage, if you're going to play this live, F sharp's not an easy key to pull off, because it has 6 sharps in it. And it's not easy. Most people would never do a song in that key. They would do an F or G, 1 flat or 1 sharp. That makes a lot of sense. The band I'm in, we don't do a single song that I can think of, not one, in F sharp. So it's just things like that make it work, to help it work. And I will say, I'm the first to admit, I am not the world's best singer. I am not a PETRAA by any means. So that's why I always try and look for singers, because I tell you, I've done a lot of instrumentals. You can go on Spotify and you'll see dozens of instrumentals, but instrumentals, as we well know, just don't hit it as well as guys like this do,
Yeah, but it's still, moving from, it tells me a lot more about your background, because you've got that ear, with a lot of people who just stick to one. But I think it's because of your upbringing, because of your training as a musician, or that's what has brought you to this level, right? Because it amazes me. You see, you write African music, you write all sorts of music. I don't think you've written anything Indian music, but I think somewhere down the line, that's a different topic. Well, we are going to introduce to you a special guest. Well, we are going to have a conversation. Fasil Kembo. Hi, Fasil. How you doing, brother?
Yeah, I'm good. Shout out to you guys. I don't know what time of the day it is over there, so hope you're having a lovely day.
Yeah, having a wonderful day. It's about 15 minutes past 4 p.m. in the afternoon.
That's evening, yeah. So good evening to you guys.
Well, it's only afternoon for me. It's only like 1:15, 15 minutes after 1 o'clock for me.
You see how the whole world is all about it, right?
I know this guy and I talk back at like 3. I don't know how he keeps it up. I'm talking to him 11 o'clock at night, and I'm thinking, how does he even sleep?
Yeah, Fasil, I was talking about we're talking about the fact that Ron, as I know him, writes, he amazes me because of what he writes. He writes African music, Afrobeat music, with the first track that I heard, I fell in love with that track with OT and C Johnny. Beautiful track. And when I got to know that Ron wrote it as a wait a minute. What? And it came so great. And he writes what? Country, pop, what have you. And I'm trying to figure out how he's able to do that. That's what we're discussing right now. But we have other topics to touch on. So introduce yourself to the listeners around the globe.
Yeah, Fasil Campbell, Ron's latest partner. So I'm your regular Nigerian artist, you know, trying to make waves out of this continent, you know, to the Western world. That's me basically.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. So yeah. Ron, sorry to have cut you. Go ahead, please.
No, you didn't cut me off at all. It's just I know that Fasil, one of the things about him, I'm going to boast for him because he doesn't look like he wants to boast too much, but the one thing that Fasil is really good at is writing lyrics. When we first started working together, the thing that really helped is I'd send him a song or he'd pick a song of mine, and within 24 hours, like the last song we wrote, within 24 hours, he had it written, the lyrics written to it, and then recorded a demo version. We'll call it a demo version because it hadn't been sent to the producer yet, of course. But a demo version already sent to me within 24 hours, less than 24 hours. Recorded harmonies, the whole works, done. I just look at it and go, okay, let's put it on the list. So that's the thing that really helps is that he seems to be wanting to get good lyrics written that say something, not just ones that are going to be put out and go, yeah, there isn't a song yet where I've gone, yeah, that's okay. They're well written, and that's what he does. I don't know where he gets it from. This Nigerian who speaks really good English writes all his lyrics in English, and it's great because then at least I understand them, and that's the benefit and help to that.
You know, one thing that what I have been experiencing or have seen over the years is that over the most recent years, if I can put it that way, is that, well, last week we had Ras Morgan. He said when he wrote the track with PETRAA, it took PETRAA 24 hours. We had Kati Matete. Kati Matete is a diva, a reggae diva in Kenya. Kati. And she did a collab with Gidimani, Perfect Gidimani in from Jamaica, a dancehall reggae artist, very great one. He also sent a track to Kathy. Within 24 hours, Kathy came in and she blew it out of the water. I don't know, Fasil, what do you think has contributed to this? Because it seems like people are getting it right off they don't waste time. Is it the technology or what is it? What do you think it is?
Yeah, I'll say tech has got a big role to play with that. Being that before this time, there might have been a certain sluggishness in creating music, knowing that it takes a longer period of time to be heard. But the fact that there's a one-on-one communication with you and your first listener these days, I think that's also a motivation to make music, knowing that as soon as you have a demo, as soon as you have a snippet, even a leak will be basically any other person in the studio recording with their phones and posting online. The fact that you know that people can immediately listen to your work of art, that's a motivation already to get you started and get you finished. Compared to back in the days when, you know, we had to go through making songs, analog mixing and mastering, CD burning, you know, marketing before it even gets to the point that people can buy and listen. So I guess the digital era has, you know, motivated a lot of artists of today to make music faster.
Do you think it's going to be even much more faster than it is today as we go on with the advent of AI and stuff like that?
I believe it would get to a point that you could make a demo and get signed the same day.
Wow.
Really so, because let's be honest, if I decide to go into talent management as a business, and I know that in a week I could discover an artist. I could groom that artist for 6 months, throw in some money, and after 6 months, I could sell the artist off to a big label. Nothing stops me from finding a talent today and signing the talent that same day.
Yeah.
Knowing that it's business, knowing I'm going to make money off this person. Because the truth is, the moment I listen to that song and go offline, another person can get to listen and pick up that artist, and I lose out. So I think that's how fast the digital era is becoming. You know, it's going to get to a point where production, communication, and delivery will be faster.
And do you think it's also going to compromise quality?
It definitely will compromise quality, being that one of the greatest songs of all time, Thriller, if I would say, I believe had to be recorded severally. So I'm not talking of a situation where you lose data. I'm talking of a situation where you put your headphones on again, you walk back into the studio, and you feel, no, man, I need to change that harmony. I need to do this better, and all that. So I feel it's going to be a lot of rushed work because of what everybody expects the outcome to be. The artist knows their lives would change. They'll get signed. They'll make money. The talent manager knows they could sell this off to any big label that's just after training an artist out there and making money. So everybody would just be after the end game. The end game would lack quality, but they'll make money. Sadly.
Yeah, you know, it's an interesting conversation. He and I haven't talked about this much, but I can certainly see that being the case, where songs will come out, especially with the assistance of AI, like we've talked about, you and me, TYB, as well as that AI is going to be able to produce things. They're going to be able to say, I don't need a producer like I used to in the days of David Foster, Quincy Jones, and the likes, huge names. I just put it into my computer and say, produce it the way I want it to sound like. I will say, once we were talking about, I want it to sound like The Weeknd. So make it sound like The Weeknd, but make my voice in there. Don't take any of The Weeknd's files, but just make the audio sound like him. And we'll be able to do that so quickly and with the help of AI. It's going to happen, and I agree, but is the quality, and I think this is the question you're asking, and I agree with Vasil, the quality will lack to a large extent, because we're not going to be hearing, one of the things I'm so afraid of is the human part of music that we really, really need to get that feel that music has. And computers, to me, have not come to that stage yet where they can just make it sound like a human. And I agree with Vasil that with it, yes, we will be able to produce songs faster, but will they lack quality? Yes. However, let's take a look at this. Will it matter when people are listening to flat files on Spotify or the likes, whatever, whatever live stream you've got your stuff on? Will it matter? Will it people go just get used to being okay? Yeah, that's the way it is. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
from where I sit, I think to the listening public, it may not matter.
Yeah.
But to you, an artist, because if I write a song, if I go to the studio, right, and I know something is wrong, I know. Because anytime I write music, I have to listen to it. I don't rush my music. I take my time. Sometimes I have, I think we've discussed this before. My son wrote, he's a songwriter. He writes hip hop and stuff like that. And he says he's retired at the age of 29. Now, he wrote something, and I was sitting down and said, I like it. I really like what these two kids are doing, because I'm not a hip hop. And so once he finished, they finished, and I said, well, I like this, the track that you guys have done. And they said they were going to charge me for it, right? And I asked him, okay, if you're going to charge me, also you have to pay me for the diapers that I bought. And I know. So we took the music to the studio. I changed it for about two going to 3 years now. I'm still working on it.
Wow.
Because I have come to the realization that if you take your time, you get good quality, right? And I record live. So taking it from that angle, I think if we are going to go through that route, what we're discussing right now, then it means AI will have to come in to mix it for good quality or something like AI will have to come and mix it. But it means you are going to lose control because you started the whole thing and the machine is going to complete it. No, I think some people may resist and then continue with the old way of doing things for the sake of, you know what, I don't know how I can put it, for the sake of being that, okay, I created it, not the machine. Facile.
Authenticity, originality.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one thing, if I'm permitted to add, one thing I've noticed about AI, because I'm into media aside music, so I do a lot of videos that are driven by voiceovers. So one thing about AI voiceovers is when you do a text-to-speech voiceover, you find out that there are no breaths in between.
Mm.
That means it's not human. Now, there's something about breaths. Even when a mixing engineer tries to take off most of your breaths while singing, at a point, a very good mixing engineer can notice that the song is losing emotion.
Mm-hmm.
There's a certain feeling that comes with you trying to gather your breath and express yourself via singing. That's one thing AI doesn't do. You do a text-to-speech, AI converts it to very clean vocals that sound human, but there are no breaths in between. So I think the authenticity would matter a lot because AI will kill most of the emotions, no matter how good the singer or rapper is.
Wow. Ron.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, Facile has heard my producing skills, and I know that they're not where they should be yet, the producing part of it, because it's a producer's job. I mean, a producer is a producer. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's an area I personally want to get better at. But you know, then I wonder, okay, if I start working on being a producer, am I going to take off the musician side of it? In other words, the songwriting. But it's an art to me in itself. The producer that we have working, and I know I've sent them back several times to, for instance, a song we're working on right now, Facile and I've sent them back several times, but it's the fact that if I had a machine doing that, it just wouldn't be the same. I would say right now, I probably produce like a machine probably would, rather than what a human would. And there's a big difference. And just the fact that, you know, Facile's saying that even breaths would be taken out and the likes, and that's just not natural. You have to hear those. I mean, the most famous song I've ever heard, and maybe TYB, you've heard this song, is by Steve Miller, and it's set it's by Jet Airlines by Steve Miller, and you hear these big breaths.
It's natural.
Yeah, exactly. And yes, we can take them out with what are called de-essers and machinery that to take all those things out. And, you know, de-essers are more for S's and T's and sibilants like that, but it's just the fact that there is a human factor that has to be in there, and if we don't put that in there, then you're going to start to sound like a machine. And as Facile's saying, it's just not music to me then, because I want to hear human. And that's just not going to happen if we continue to work it the way we are with AI today.
Yeah, like what you're saying. I was listening to a track, a Ghanaian track, some years ago, and the guy, I think when they were mixing it, they didn't clip out something that was very profanous. And it was left there. But you have to have that ear to know that, well, they didn't take this thing out or something like that. But yeah, you're right. That's how I feel. The human aspect of it has got to be there. If it's not there, it becomes artificial. That's what brings us to artists performing with live bands.
Yes.
Live bands.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
To me, personally, if I have to go and pay, say, $100 or $200 to have a seat at a concert, then I go there and it's a playback, and then the artist is just singing, not singing, then I should have, I must have, I should have stayed home to watch the music video, because it brings out the best in so many musicians who may have gone through school to learn how to play the guitar, how to play keyboards and drummers and all those kind of stuff. So if this is going to eliminate them, then I don't think it's right. we have to go back to the basics.
Sure. I would say, okay, if I'm to give an instance, not mentioning names, there was a rising artist over here some years ago, made his very first single, and it became a hit. Over here, when we know a song is a hit, even if it's being paid for, or when we know a song is to become famous, we would have thought it was a mistake back in the days, but since it's something that was repeated with several artists, here's the picture. A new song comes out, you're watching MTV, for instance, and that video is played twice the same time. Like immediately it finishes, it comes back again. Most people will feel that's a mistake from the guys, handling the slot and all that. But that's probably promotional. That's probably the studio manager or whoever handles that slot being played, enjoying that music so much.
Wow. Yeah, Ron.
He and I have had this conversation actually before. We were having this on, what was it, Friday or something? Go ahead. We'll just keep chatting. Well, he fades out here and there.
That's right.
We'll keep him on board.
That's right.
Yeah, but it's just, we had this conversation the other day too, and I couldn't believe how much different this is almost changing sort of topics a bit, but how much different the promotion of music is in Nigeria as opposed to here it is in Canada. And this gets onto a different, as I say, a different topic, but it was just how much the video is videos. He said it sounds like he barely watches TV, like we know here. He barely watches it. And I just thought, well, I'm sitting in a room. I was at my father-in-law's at the time, and everybody in the room's watching TV. And he said, well, the people just don't do that very much. They're sort of watching YouTube and the likes. And I was surprised by that. Just for marketing reasons, it was so different by comparison to what we are used to here. And he and I got into this payment discussion as well, and about that. And it was I tell you, it's hard to comprehend here in Canada and in North America by comparison to what he experiences over there.
Yeah. Folks, we are listening to Love the Afrobeat Music Talk Radio, and the program is Highway 6 to Africa. We are here every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we are having a very general conversation about our industry, about recording music recordings, and I will be getting into other areas where it matters. We have everything planned for you. We have a visitor. Not a visitor as such, he's an artist, I would say. He's all the way in my beautiful Nigeria. Yes, that's Fasil Campbell. He's joined us, and we are having a very big conversation that might interest you. Tell a friend to tell a friend that you all love the Afrobeat Music Talk Radio, your number one African Caribbean online radio. We are here every Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, Fasil, you were saying something. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so I was trying to get a story out of making music and then performing music. You understand? So this very artist had his first single. He enjoyed a lot of airplay on TV and radio as well. And in a couple months, he was invited for one of the biggest shows over here. It's called Rhythm Unplugged. And that was probably his first big stage. And I wouldn't say it was a flop, but back to social media, more than half of his fan base was complaining about his performance vocally. They kept saying he didn't sound as good as the song sounded. But this is a great artist that sings quite well. But because a lot of tech was being put into the mixing,
You got it. Yeah. Because it's controlled.
He made his fan base expect too much from him.
That's right.
Not forgetting the fact that he's a great artist. Without too much tuning and effects being added to his vocals, he actually sings quite well. But it was a total different vocal they had on stage compared to that song. So I guess he had to do a lot of work back in the studio, to make his voice more original in comparison to whenever he gets to perform. So that's the same thing we're talking about. AI would affect our live performances if we are being enjoyed so much that it's not really us singing. When they get to see or witness the real us singing, they don't get to feel us like, you know, the audio.
Yeah, Ron.
Yeah, no, and that's going to be a real shame when it comes to those of us who are advocates for performing live, because to me, as well as you know, TYB as well, and I can't speak for Fasil, but know that money is in the live performances, and so recording is great. Recording gets you known, but when you step on a stage, that's where things are going to be. And if you can't sound like you're recording or what you've put into the studio, then I personally, as a fan, I would be very disappointed. I know as when I went to see Madonna there the other night, granted it was all this canned music behind her, but it was her singing. And it sounded like Madonna, other than her being a little older. You could tell her voice has changed a little bit. Just the timbre of her voice, because she's older, and that just comes with age. And sorry, folks, if you don't like your voice, if you don't like somebody's voice because they're getting older, well, then don't go see them when they get older. But that just naturally happens. That's what I don't mind. I don't mind it naturally being the way it is, and that's the way I think we as artists have to strive to shoot for, is it to be as natural as possible. It's one of the reasons I love having guitars, even in Afrobeat music. I love guitars because you don't hear it as much. It's real human beings. The only thing that can play a real guitar is a real human. It's one of those instruments, you know. And when you put in a real guitar in a song, like one that Fasil and I were working on, it's just the guitar in it. It just speaks in the song, you know, along with his singing. Of course, that's the shining part. But it's just the guitar in it just makes it go, that's a human. Thank you very much. I can tell it's a human. And I love that aspect of it. You take that out of there, and you're going to be losing fans. And like Fasil said, I can see why the social media would just pound on a person who does not sound like they do in their recording, or sounds too fake in their recording. And then when they get on stage, it sounds like something totally different.
So it means that if I get it from both of you, it means it can make or break you.
Oh yeah.
It can make or break you.
Yeah.
It can make the lucky ones, break the unlucky ones.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Folks, you can join in on the conversation. Very interesting indeed. Yes, now let's talk about your projects. Your current project, which I'm enjoying behind the scenes. Ron, tell us a little bit about it, and then we can discuss it, and then go into the Grammys.
Well, I have to work with this goofball down below me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No. What the nice thing I love doing, yeah, I got a sense of humor, sure, is that what I like is doing is that the latest thing we do, it's not the first song we've recorded. There's many we have, but this song, which will be coming up, is called Claustrophobic. And it's, to me, what I like about it is, I would say, number one is that it has a catchy hook. I mean, we're doing a project. We want to do an album. We have enough songs. We have 20-some songs.
Wow.
And we are, as Fasil told me this morning, he's making his wife do this, and I'm going to do the same this afternoon. He knows what I'm talking about. Is listen to the 20 songs and say, which ones do you like? I don't want to speak on his behalf, but his wife only wants to listen to a minute of the songs.
Make it too much noise in the house.
cut me off. But yeah, it's just say, listen to the songs, tell me which ones you like. And that's what we're at that stage, because I would say we have a personal closeness to some of them. But, you know, unless we put them into the ears of somebody who's not a musician, I think that's the only way we're really going to find out, because no matter what, you can put them on social media all over the place, and people will say they love everything you do. You know, but it's just, we need to, I don't know if Vasil's wife's like this, but mine is, my wife doesn't care what she says about my songs, because she'll just basically rip them apart if they're not good, and if they're good, she'll tell me, because she knows I'm not going to divorce her if the song sucks, or if she doesn't like them. But this song, the first song we're doing is Squash Club, and to me, it's a catch. I sent it to a friend of mine, a really good drummer, and he said the first thing it reminded of him is, no, I'm not going to tell you, but I told Vasil, and Vasil, I said, you know who? He said we sound like. Yeah, okay. It has a sound that just reminds me of, because his voice. It's his voice that does this, and just but it's different, because I put guitars into this first song. Well, I put guitars into most songs, but this next song, it has a really good ripping guitar solo in it, which I know this other artist who that people say we sound like doesn't do that. And then, you know, as I've said to Vasil, we have to make the chorus catchy. It has to be something you're going to remember almost the first time you hear it. That's the only chance you get today. So that's what we're working on now, is making sure that the songs, all of them, are going to be ones people are going to go, okay, I can snap my fingers to this at least, and hopefully I can remember them and get them out. The hardest thing he and I have is probably getting them produced fast enough in the stage so that they get out to somebody to produce them, because he and I can write them within like 24-hour period, but then it usually takes a producer weeks to get a song done. That's the most difficult thing.
And you've got to have a very patient producer too. Somebody who's not going to rush that, you know. You and I have spoken about this before. We had we lost this young guy who just come into the studio and just play it within, and it's done. And if you listen to it, quality work that it does. So you know what, we need more producers there are more artists than producers. So and I think if you are out there listening to us and you want to be a producer, there are so many avenues out there that you can explore and you know, get into production, because COVID has given us a lot more artists than needed, and a lot of artists have written a lot of music. We had Conscience, the dancehall artist, on this program, and the question that I put to him was how many songs he's written. He says during the period he wrote 70 songs. Wow. 70 songs, and he was going to release 18 on an album, stuff like that, you know. So I think COVID has given us that kind of option to have produced more music. But the question that I ask myself every time is, are we going to have a glut of music in the, you know, on the market? And which ones would you consider as good and bad and stuff like that? Because everybody's rushing, even 2 years after COVID, everybody's rushing to put things out there. Vasil, from where you sit, do you think the glut is going to affect how people look at the music that is coming out these days?
Well, it depends on how they define good music. You know, music would have so many qualities. First quality of music is it should be consumable, meaning it should be what you can listen. Now, you can listen to what you don't love if it's the first time. You can listen to what you don't love if you're forced to sit at a bar or a pub with someone, or a hotel reception, and you just can't leave at that moment, and you just can't control the sound system. Same way you can listen to what you love when you can control the sound system, when it's coming from your phone, from your Spotify playlist, or whatever. So I'm just saying it depends on how we define what we want to listen to. So to me, music that isn't easily perishable is good music. Music that could become a reference 10 years from now is good music.
Yes, I agree.
There's a lot of interesting music. There's a lot of sweet music. There's a lot of melodious music. There's a lot of hit music. But good music is music that isn't perishable, meaning that decades to come, it's still a reference. You could still play that for your kid that chooses to do music and say, learn from this. Like Ron always sends songs to me and says, learn from this. I don't tell him most of those songs were songs I heard as a kid. And I knew back then they were hits, because when we grew up, you only hear hits. We're not opportune to listen to so much music. So if eventually you listen to any song or have any song around playing in the house, or your elder ones are lucky to buy the radio tapes and play them, it has to be hit music. You understand? So hearing those songs these days and having Ron say, learn from this, it means that's good music, because it's music that's been 2-3 decades ago, and you can still tell that, you know, this guy was doing so good at this. And, you know, if I pick out the lyrical style, the vocal style, the way the progression of the song is, there's a lot to learn. So I think it depends on how we define music, you know, if it's just consumable music, perishable music, or listenable music. That's the thing.
Yeah, you're right. I think we are frozen, but the show continues. All of us are frozen here, but the show continues.
Okay.
Now, let's talk about it. Yeah, you made a very great point, because when I was growing up in Ghana, right, I was listening to both Nigerian and Ghanaian high-life music and stuff like that. Ebenezer Obey, Ike Dero, and Cardinal Rex Lawson and all those guys. You know, Cardinal Rex Lawson was my favorite. But then coming this far, I think we have great artists, and marketing today is better than back then. From where you sit, Ron, do you think there's more to be done in terms of I'm moving towards a point where whether we should embrace social media as a starting point, or we should go out there to perform live? Help me with this. Help me with this, please.
You know, it's interesting. I put this I know Fasil and I were talking about this on, I think, Friday night. I think it was. He and I talked, you know, numerous times a day. And I think it was Friday. No, it wasn't last night. It was Thursday night. Doesn't matter. Anyways, we were talking about this, and the one question I had that was hard to answer for Fasil, I think, was this. It's like, I put the perspective of Dolly Parton into perspective. I said, look at Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton didn't have social media to grow up on. Mm-hmm. She didn't grow up in a rich family's home, so she's not like a Miley Cyrus, who has, you know, Billy Ray as the dad to you know, help promote. And that's taking nothing away from Miley. Miley, if you're listening, this is taking nothing away from you. It helps to have connections. However, sure. I think that with somebody like with Dolly Parton, she grew up in a very poor family, no social media whatsoever, no radio. The only thing she had really was radio. So the question becomes, how did she make it? How did Dolly become so rich, so famous, that she actually did so well? And it comes down to a few things. One, radio. How much was it getting played on the radio? And number two, what were her live performances like? Granted, Dolly is a very pretty woman, and that was obviously an advantage for her. However, it's just, you just don't make it by just being, I don't know if this is going to be true, because, you know, I didn't grow up in the same era that you did, Fasil, and that is, social media plays a big factor in all this today, but I still think the great artists are going to be the great artists no matter who they are. That's my sort of feeling on this, whether you're Dolly Parton or whether you are whoever, but great artists will come to the forefront. Any thoughts on that, Basil?
True. Yeah, you're right about that. Background doesn't or shouldn't necessarily matter, and even the economy in whatever country you find yourself, you know. I think talent speaks for itself, and greatness can never be hidden. That's what I would say. So even if we were not opportune to have as much tech and internet as we have today, definitely one way or the other, you know, from your next door neighbor, you know, from even a traveler deciding to walk past, you know, your house, someone just gets to hear you, you know, and someone just gets to spread the word, you know. It might not spread as fast as social media, but one way or the other, you know, someone gets to hear.
Yeah.
And the world gets to know you. Yeah.
I've gotten a text from another Ron in Syracuse, New York. He says, "I'm enjoying the program, guys." Yes,
Nice.
Now, if you have any other comment on it, we are going to go into the Grammys, because you and I, Ron, you and I have spoken a lot more with PETRAA about how the Grammys went and stuff like that. Were you surprised to have, you clarified, I would say. A lot of people were talking about the fact that Tyra won, and people were associating the fact that she won the best Afrobeat. It wasn't Afrobeats. People were thinking she won. Oh, how come Davido didn't win, and how come this person da 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 da? It wasn't about the best Afrobeats musician. It was about the best performer, I should say, right? So people got it wrong. But then, even having said that, we discussed this on the radio here. Do you think? Let me put it this way: how did they measure? Where did she perform? Where in the first place, where did she perform? Secondly, how was it measured? There's a lot more questions than answers. Ron?
Yeah, I'll tell you, first of all, that, I looked this up, and it wasn't for best Afrobeat song. So I'll clarify that right off the bat. Even though some will say that Tyla's Water was an Afrobeat song, and some will say it sounds more like R&B to them. It's not for Afrobeat, so it is not specifically geared to the Afrobeat genre, so to speak. It is for African performance.
Yeah.
So that's what it was geared on. I know that Fasil sent me a link to somebody who sounded like they were absolutely livid that Tyla won, since it was really, this isn't really a true Afrobeat song. I can see the look on his face already. But it's just that it's not an Afrobeat song. It's African performance. Now, the question you asked was, why was it the best performance? Was it because she did a great video? Was it because she was on what's his name, Jimmy Fallon, his show, because she's done so many videos and clips of it? I don't know where they base this on, or how they come up with their results in what is the best African performance. It's performance, not song. So I think that has to be clarified, and people need to look that up when they're looking this up, because I was looking this and going, that doesn't say Afrobeat song. It doesn't say Afrobeat artist. It has nothing to do with Afrobeat. It's African. And as most of us well know, that Tyla's from South Africa. So she's from Africa. Anything on thoughts on that there, Fasil?
I would say, like you said, I'm not so certain why, what that category, what would be like the qualities to, get you to win that category, aside Africa being the continent from which this nominees were selected. But if we are to say performance, I think even on a song, without you watching the video, there's also a feeling of performance. How well the person performs vocally, how well the producers perform production-wise. You understand? How well the lyrical performance and everything. So I think even before it gets to the point where we want to say she's female, she looked really seductive on her video, and all that could lead to her winning that category over guys that might have looked too masculine or I think performance starts from the studio. Performance starts from how well you're able to put out those vocals and get your listeners to connect with you. Great job. I would say that song reminds me of the golden age of hip hop and R&B. So it's got nothing to do with Afrobeat. It's got nothing to do with South Africa against Nigeria or whatever country. It was just a nomination for selected artists from Africa and how well they performed. on their song.
Mhm.
That's how I feel about
I think
that particular nomination and the winner.
Yeah,
And she deserved it. Yeah.
Yeah, she deserved it. And they had to come out to sort of clarify, because a lot of people, just like I was also of the same opinion, that how come this, but then Ron said, oh, you know what, it was about best performance and stuff like that. And yeah, I've come to embrace it. And well, it's been a while when I'm just praying that my boy Davido wins one. Because hopefully, yeah, he would. Yes. I think he was, if I can say, I'm not saying on his behalf, but I think he was a little bit disappointed from the video shot that came on there. He was a little bit disappointed when I saw him scratch his head. I said, I should have been there. But all the same, I think he has got some wonderful years ahead of him, and he's producing some great music. And I love what I'm hearing from Africa. Yesterday, I read somewhere, somebody gave me a list of Nigerian artists on the world market, on the world musical scene, to the both gospel and everything. Hundreds of them, hundreds. And they are all great. They are all great. So I think at this particular point in time, all that we can say is that we should embrace what is coming. We've spoken about AI. Ronald, if you quite remember, I said before the advent of cars, when the engineers were saying, we are going to bring a machine out there, they were using buggies, horse-drawn buggies. And today we have cars, we have Teslas, and we have all these kind of stuff that may be spying on us, but we don't. But then, at the end of the day, things will change. But then the natural way of doing things, in terms of how we record and stuff, will still remain the same. And I hope it stays the same. And I hope that everything that comes out of every other place should be natural. Because we, as artists, know one if we see one. Before we go, is there anything that you can give to listeners to take away?
Well, go ahead, Priscilla. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. I'd love to say that whatever anyone aspires to do in relation to music making, stick to what inspires you. I'm not going to force Nigerians. Ron might not like what I want to say, but I'm not going to force Nigerian artists to do genres that are.
Wow. The best part was missing. Is missing. The best part is missing.
Okay.
We'll let him.
Ron, go ahead.
I think the biggest problem we have, he and I have, is just, as I've said to other people, or said to him many times, people might ask, between him and me, when we put music out, what is it going to be called? Like, what is it? Is it Afrobeat? What happens if it doesn't have an Afrobeat feel to it? Mm-hmm. And I joked with him when I was driving in the car the other day, and I said to him, I think the best thing they can do is call the music that Priscilla and I make, call it Afghan music, because then it's African and Canadian together, so it becomes Afghan. And so it won't be given a label or a genre of something that is supposed to sound like something from Canada or supposed to sound like something from Nigeria. It'll be Afghan music. So anyway, go ahead, Priscilla. What were you saying there? But what I wouldn't like.
I was saying, I wouldn't encourage any Nigerian or artist from this continent to do music that doesn't inspire them. So I'm saying, the way we started music, we had to listen to something that inspired us, and we felt we could do something like this. You understand? So whatever genre inspires you, do that. Because I think originality comes from inspiration, not from trying to be like your countryman or trying to be like another country's man. You understand? So what we do today is music from inspiration. You understand? There's something called sound bank. From the point where you were a kid till today, whatever you utter as sound comes from a lot of things you've heard growing up as a child. If you're a producer and you choose to make your producer tag, that might be the sound of a horn from a train that you often heard when you were a kid. So that's your sound bank. So get inspired from your sound bank, whatever you've listened to over the years that inspires you to do great music. Put all that together and do great music. Not minding if it's music that Nigeria loves, not minding if it's music that Africa loves, not minding if it's music that Canada, US, UK, or the world loves. Just do music that inspires you. And so long as there are other people in different parts of the world that feel the same way as you do, definitely they would accept you. So that's my giveaway, you know, to anyone, you know, trying to put music together, or trying to discover their sound, you know, anyone that's having this conflict as to, is Afrobeat the right thing, is pop the right thing? Forget about genres. Just make good music that inspires you, and definitely it might inspire someone out there.
A powerful aiming to that.
Yeah.
Ron, take us home.
Well, I'll say that's why I say Priscilla and I have the new genre. It's called Afghan music.
Yeah.
Because it's just, I don't like labeling things. I wish in some ways we don't have genres of music. As we know from the Grammys, the JUNOs, any big award show, they always divide them up into genres. But I wish we weren't doing that, and I wish we were being more like, say, Priscilla and I, who are just going, we're going to write what we like to do. I don't care if it's Canada, I don't care who it is, but I hope that somebody eventually likes it, and I'm sure they will. Yeah. We have wives that like it anyways. So maybe we'll have two buyers. But I don't know, I'm just saying that it doesn't matter the genre. If you're so stuck on a particular genre that you like, I say, okay, go ahead. But you know, widen your scope in life. Get to listen to some different stuff. You know, and if it's good, I say, listen to it. I love jazz. I love so many different styles. And if it meets my fancy, I'll listen to it, but I won't be looking up genre. You know, if you love hip hop, love hip hop. Yeah. But, you know, don't love it because it's just hip hop. Love it because of what it says to you, what it does to your heart. That's what I think about music. And you can talk about this for a while on genres and the likes, but to me, I wish we could not divide things up that way, but we do. I don't know. We like to put things in categories.
Another powerful amen to that. And folks,
amen.
This is where the rubber meets the road. And I would like to thank Fasil. It was last minute that you were able to get things together and to join us. We hope to bring you back again. Honestly, sure, I enjoy our conversation with you. So we'll talk offline, off screen. We'll see how it goes. Folks, we are going off right now. And next week, we have Adasama, a group from Ghana. They'll be our special guest. We have lined up a lot of artists out there. If you're an artist and you want to be a guest on this program, yes, hey, send us your credentials, everything to info.lovebay@gmail.com. Just Google Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio and you'll get the information here. See, over here, what we do is we give voice to the voiceless, because not everybody out there as musicians or artists will be able to go through so many different hoops in so many different cultures and countries that they have to do payola. We don't do payola here. If the music is clean, if you are great, and if you want to be heard out there, this is your station. And until we meet again in 7 days, take care of yourselves and each other. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Fasil. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.